Hey everyone, it's Cal. I hope you're doing well. Um, Nice to see you back. And if you're new here, I talk about the Kundalini and all the health and wellness associated with it. And in today's video, I wanted to answer some questions kind of randomly. I just sort of threw them all into a Word document, so they're a little mixed up. But first, I want to say, just as a reminder, that these videos are really just my opinion, okay? And everyone is different. And never forget that you have the answers inside of you. There is no one that knows more about you than you. And that's just the way it is. And it's been set up that way. It's because self-discovery is the greatest thing that you can do here on the planet. It's what it's all about. So jumping into these questions, as I said, they're kind of a little mixed up, and some questions I didn't answer on the last video, so they might sound a little random. The first one is it necessary to have sex with our twin flame or with another person? And I want you to know there is no set way, okay? You need to follow your inner prompts, twin flame or other person. Follow your prompts. Everything is made available for you within. I recommend personally that you take a sabbatical just to get clear, because when things get so intense with human relations, and they can sometimes get possibly dependent, or they just tend to get really muddy. So at this point, it's best to just sort of get away from it all and regroup with yourself. Spend time in nature, do things you love, and just get less intense, relax a bit, and then let the knowledge come forth. So that's really my answer. Know that there is no one set way for anything. There just isn't. There's so much diversity, and so many different factors play into everything. And really, it's all about where you're at right now. Okay, so someone mentioned something that I wanted to just talk about. They just made a comment and they said, I feel like this, and I think it was the Kundalini, or going deep into spirituality, was such a hard process to go through at such a young age without a social network and family support. And I just really totally agree, because through not having social networks, I have come to know that they are just so important. But also on the flip side, I want to say having no social networks actually caused me to go into the Kundalini as well. So it's kind of not having, it's kind of the Kundalini can arise. You go into it because there is no other place to turn to. So you have to turn inward. So just please know that if that's happened to you, it's part of the path, and you are meant to go in. You're also meant to come back and join. Social networks, I mean, they represent the elements also that the mother force flows through to bring you what you want or what you need in a time of need. So sometimes you can really feel the lack of them. And, lack of family support also means that I feel, because that's what I had, complete lack. In fact, my family was detrimental, so all of them. So lack of family support means you wanted to do everything on your own. And just remember that your family members have a different point of view too, and that they've got their own paths that they're on. So I just wanted to mention that, because that was such a great comment, and because so many people are out there without a social network or family support, right? Makes you stronger. Okay, someone said they are in their 20s and their life is a mess, and I wanted to comment on that too. I wanted to say, who says your life is a mess? And what are you comparing it to? Remember, we're on the planet to become balanced, rounded. We have to learn what we came here to learn, and then we have to integrate. So life is not a mess. Life is all about learning. And, sometimes like the most successful people that you see can be the most ungrounded, shallow individuals you've ever known. And sometimes they're not. And it can be the flip side too. Sometimes people on the street can be the most fascinating, wonderful, well-rounded people, or they can be also, you know, uh, have some bad character traits. So you are the one who makes the decision on you. Don't look outward, okay? Your life is not a mess. You think it is, but right now you're faced with a lot of different decisions that you have to make. And remember, the mind is the bad boy. Getting past the mind and all its social conditioning, media conditioning, and conditioning from our parents. Oh my gosh, I mean, that can take a lifetime to unravel. So if we could just move more towards doing the things that we like, exploring our interests, making it all about us, because it really is all about us. We both know that the mind is a child and wants to control, so we really have to get a grip on what the mind is doing. So if your mind is telling you negative stories, you got to get a grip on that. And follow the cues from your center, because you do know the way. You know the truth about yourself. And, you know the truth about your life. And learning curves take you down, and then you got to come back up. But you know the way. You can take your power back, and you can give your life a new turn and a new story. And that's the real truth. That's the real truth, okay? I also wanted to mention, I don't know if this was the same person or someone else. Sorry, I grouped them all together. I haven't had sex or love in 2.5 years, and my nervous system is out of balance with mood swings, which are extremely intense and lead to sickness. Yeah. I know a lot about this. I would go on huge 5-year stints, not to mention almost a 25-year stint on no sex or love. But you go, I learned so much in that period about so many different things. But I would say to you to regulate your life, creating good habits and focusing on health and fitness with just daily meditation, 20 minutes morning and night. I would say that the good habits, really, health and fitness, I think that's what maintained me during all those stints that I did. The health and fitness is critical, and I crashed without it. I think I talk about my mental breakdown on some of the other videos, but I didn't do enough health and fitness, and whoa, talk about a crash. I mean a crash, not just a crash and then you're up again, but a crash for years. Redirecting the mind when you have these mood swings, or the body is having its drive going, is the body's pull is so strong. And I mean, that was the challenge for me. So I got working and I went to the gym a lot, and I exercised in nature a lot. The mood swings, I think they happen because the body's either in balance or because of the story we're telling ourselves. So we really got to change our habits. We really got to get our daily habits down hard and change the mind story. Take action with the mind and body. And I mean, I'm learning all of this stuff all over again. I mean, I was doing, when you're exercising so much, you're kind of on auto drive, and it's easier to program the mind. But when you slow that exercise down, whoa, talk about the mind taking a tailspin. So the next comment that I wanted to just touch on was, somebody mentioned they didn't get their social or sexual needs met, and they sit in the house 5 days a week. And I've been there too. And the thing is, the universe brings you what you need and what you want, but you have to show the universe what you want by taking action towards it. And I think, well, first of all, no one can do this but you. And yeah, balancing the system is critical. And getting the exercise is paramount, not just because you need the power, but when you are in exercise mode, your mind goes into a kind of a resting place. And guess what? Every cell in your body does that too. Every cell in your body is like your child or your disciple following you. So when you bring your mind into that still state and you're exercising, the cells do too, which is fantastic. And then you can really realize what your true desires are, because for a lot of time I thought, I'm not getting my sexual desires met, but then I realized I'm not getting the vital energy that I want. I'm not getting the travel that I want. I'm not getting the exploration that I want. I'm not getting the adventure that I want. And all of these things give you almost the equivalent of that energy, sometimes more, sometimes better. So I know this might sound crazy to you right now, being in the space that you're in, but I beg you to try it, because it's true. Once we get out there in life and we start taking risk and challenge and doing different things and finding, we have lots of failures, but when we have some really good things happen to us, ooh, they're real good. So I would suggest balancing the system, diet, exercise, meditation, balancing it all out, food, work, friends, you kind of need it all. And just start with little tiny bits. And this is coming from a recluse. I'm a recluse. And people say to me, Cal, you're so good in the group with people and this kind of thing. I'm surprised that, you live alone in a little place out in the boonies. I'm a recluse. And so I also know that when we get into meditation, it seems like the outer world slows down because we're not backing it up with enough exercise and outer worldly stuff. And we get removed from life, and it's difficult to get back in. One thing that I had to do, and I don't know if any of you need this, but I had to stop denying life. I had to stop thinking about how imperfect life was. And after I accepted the imperfection, later I begun to see that the imperfection is actually perfect and it's amazing. And then I started to move into a space of accepting myself more, and also affirming life. And through affirming life, that means the basics of having a job, because while we're on this planet, we have to give service. There is no way out of it. Service is the way of the mother force, and she will not let us out of this. She controls the entire universe. And if you're here, you have been designed to give service in some way. The next is, peaceful shelter that you can regenerate yourself in, healthy food, friends, etc. And I noticed as I started to regulate and get more energy, build my vital energy up again, I began to think of life as the grand opera, as we've heard. I can't remember who said, I think Shakespeare said, life is a grand opera and we are just players in it. But I began to think of it as kind of this grand opera, and boy, you can play a part, any part you want, but also the greater goal. And when you know the greater goal, you get really ethical about how you play your part. And really, when you get ethical and you're playing your part, it becomes so fun. And it becomes really good as you start to change the way you think about things. So I just wanted to mention those things that I went through, and maybe they can help you. And then I think the same person said, God willing, everything will be okay. And I can tell you, that is the number one thing I know for sure. Of course, it will all be okay. And it will all be okay because we can think that it's okay and we can create it. But even at its very worst, it will all be okay because it is just a dream. It is just a dream. So enjoy and get into it because the dream is really worth having. The greater truth is that when we die back, we join with the greater whole again. And so you're here to refine that little shiny thing, that little shiny particle of you, so that when you flow back, you can join in to the great, bright, shining light. You're making yourself bigger. That's what the Kundalini does. It builds your spirit. It makes it bigger so that when we all die back, we shine brighter. And it's just you could think about it as an experiment in expansion. But nevertheless, it is a dream, and it has got a time limit on it. So just start joining in tiny ways. Everything is baby steps, especially when we get so dysregulated. Even now, I'm baby stepping every day in so many ways, because when the mind takes over, it sucks your body of all the nutrients and everything that you need. And you have to really dummy that down, get the movement going, and get the interaction going, because people give you energy too. And when you give to people, you get energy. I mean, everything is vibration. And when we really get down to it all being vibration, we get seriously mindful about what we interact with, how we interact. And, we don't get angry with things. We just redirect until we log on to better, better, and better. So I don't want to get on a big rant. I just wanted to sort of touch on those things, and definitely let you know that it's all okay. That's the number one thing I came back with from the other side. It is all good. And that's something, I never talk about. I never talk about, the goodness. I get so into the deep, dark, heavy of the Kundalini, and whoa, I saw this and I knew this and this was clear. But the bigger overriding feeling after all of it was a feeling of such goodness, such clarity of goodness, and so much that we are here building ourselves, and to come here to this place is not easy. Everything in the universe wants to be able to be where we are right now. Everything is clamoring to be. So the fact that you are a breathing human body on this planet is fantastic. You are so lucky. That was the biggest thing, to be able to get in to this place. And now that you're here, you want to make the most of it. And don't compare yourself to any others. You don't know what's going on in people's lives. You see the shiny cover. You never know what's going on behind the scenes. And you know what? For example, let's say, not for example, you never know the heaviness of behind what's going on. I mean, recently, I had kind of a wish granted. I always wanted my own big, beautiful house, and then I got it. And then I was like, wow, it's everything I could ever want. And then I started seeing how much care it required. Holy cow. And at first, the first little while I was like, yeah, this is all good. Okay, I'll just do that. But then I had to do it again and again and again. Suddenly I became a slave to the house. And by the end of the first few months of having the house, the big, gorgeous, beautiful house that was all mine, and I started really regretting that I'd even had that thought. And I realized that my time is so limited here and that it is too much time to deal with the big beast of the house, that what I really need is a teepee and not even a car. I just want a bike that has a motor on the back of it, because I don't even want to have to deal with the insurance of the car and the renewal and the tires and the changing and all the mechanics and taking it in and having... And you think to yourself, well, gee, if you don't have a car, then you can't do this and do that and do this. And I'll tell you, once I went through that list, I realized, gee, when do I really do those things? Once every 5 years? I don't even want the car. So that's where I'm at right now. And believe me, I have the biggest desires and wants that were created from media, and I'm getting rid of all of them. So really take a clear look at what you really do want, and that is really hard to do. To get to true desires is a real tough place, and because it's so difficult, I started just doing all my desires, and I started realizing, well, that wasn't as great as I thought. Not that they're not, because some really are. I remember the first time I flew a plane, I was like, this is for me, and I still feel that way. But I just wanted to share this a little bit. I'm going to end the video now because maybe some of you are sleeping, but I did want to just address these few questions. And again, thanks for being here, and we'll see you next time. Everyone, take care. Bye-bye.